Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Emilio live in Tennessee. Back to talk some Packers this evening and continue to break down the matchup here between the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. Set to kick off this Sunday at Lambeau Field. 12 p.m. noon game. Going to be a blast. Some people are saying, Emilio, this is the matchup of the NFC right now, possibly the two best teams in the National Football Conference, man. I'm excited for this one, dude.
Yeah, no, definitely. And not something we really saw when we first checked this out, right? I mean, when we were first looking at that schedule, we said, okay, we got the Eagles, and then we probably looked at the Texans and then the Lions. So weeks 2 through 6, man, they're going to be big. We got 2 wins out of them with Malik. And this one is going to be huge, divisional against the Vikings. You heard Bullard talking about it in his interview. It's a divisional game, and it's like any other. You got to go out and win it. But this one is big. We need this one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now I'll tell you what else is big. That's purchasing your tickets over at Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. Wisconsin-based since '92, specializing in Packers tickets. They're Wisconsin's largest ticket source with offices next to Lambeau and in Milwaukee. Click on the link in the video description that'll send you to theticketking.com, where you can register for free as a customer and go ahead and start shopping for your Packers tickets. Again, that's Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live.
Heard it from a fan right here. You heard it.
Exactly.
Oh,
the loop got him. Tim would be so disappointed.
I'm going to hear it later. I'm going to hear it later, definitely.
Rookie mistake. It happens.
Yeah.
The loop, I don't know why they don't have a feature where you can turn that off. That drives me insane. Yeah. But it got Ryan a couple times, too. I noticed when he was doing some live shows. So I was cracking up about it. But first things first, man, like I said, we're going to dive into Packers-Vikings extensively. We're going to hear from Jeff Hafley, who met with the media earlier today. Really cool hearing him kind of talk about this matchup between the Vikings. Earlier today, we talked about maybe how we would attack on offense. What we're going to key in on today is the defensive game plan and how the Vikings may attack the Packers, what they're really good at, what formations, what sets, what personnel, all that good stuff. We're going to kind of dive into that. I'm really excited about that. First things first, though, I do want to hit on this. Jake Shavink shared this in our Twitter group earlier today. For the people who are kind of continuing to dog Rashan Gary and they're, looking for the sacks or looking for the pressures, this is what we were talking about. This is minimum 30 snaps, the highest chip rate throughout the entire National Football League in week 3. Okay, so these are the players who are getting double teamed or chipped with a running back and or a tight end. Okay, TJ Watt at 44% of the snaps, Emilio, or pass rushes, I should say, 44% of the time. He's getting chipped. Jonathan Cooper from the Broncos drawing all kinds of attention at 22.8%. Nick Bonito from the Broncos, 22.4%. Michael Hoek, I guess that's how you say it, from the Rams, 21.21%. Max Crosby from the Raiders at 20% even, along with the Green Bay Packers, Rashan Gary. He's got 80 pass rush snaps. He's been chipped 16 times, so 20% of his pass rushes has included a double team with a chip, with a running back or a tight end. That's probably not even including when they will slide the protection and put a guard with the tackle if Rashan does rush inside. Now, The reason you see a higher chip percentage as opposed to double team percentage with 2 offensive linemen with Gary is because of Matt LaFleur, and no matter what defensive coordinator he's had here, he's really preached that wide 9 approach, right? That really takes away that double team with the guard unless you stunt inside. Therefore, that's what's setting up the chips from the tight ends and the running backs. We see it in Tennessee pretty much the whole game. There was many snaps in week 3. I mean, you see it right here that Rashan Gary was obviously getting chipped.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you have to. The dude is a monster human being, but he's determined. I know that we've been wanting his edge work to be a little bit, more refined. They want to see the sacks and everything like that, but it's not all about it. You saw it in that clip last night when LVN came over to him and said, "That's all you, RG. That sack that I got was 100% yours." And everything else. He's on the sideline cheering on Quay, making a third down. It's not just about putting up the 1 sack number so that he's the best end in the league or whatever it needs to be. He does so much more for the team, mentality wise as well.
Yeah, definitely. And he still had a sack in that game, got called back because Preston Smith got called offsides. Obviously, had nothing to do with his production and getting the sack. Like you said, he's the one who completely blew away it might have been the double team on that play too, that he just torches and forces the quarterback, Will Levis, to step up and to his right. And that's what allowed the LV and sack, like you said, him pointing to
and you got a sack on Lane Johnson. You know what I mean? And they're still not giving the man credit.
It's hilarious, dude. Did you see where the community notes
just came in from the top rope and just the DDT?
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, basically Rashan Gary beat Lane Johnson and got a sack in the Eagles game, and PFF credited that sack to the quarterback. And what's crazy is they said that Lane Johnson thought there was a penalty on the play, so he didn't really, didn't react. What's hilarious is all other 4 offensive linemen, they reacted at the snap. He still got hands on Rashan Gary. Rashan Gary beat him to the quarterback, gets the sack, and PFF is refusing to acknowledge that Rashan Gary got that sack on Lane Johnson. What's hilarious is someone pulled the receipts. This is not in the show notes, but I'm running this down right now, Emilio. This was hilarious. Somebody pulled the receipts on PFF.
Oh, please. I need this. I haven't seen this.
Bro, this is breaking news right
now.
Because,
we all talked about it. Lane Johnson put a hand on Gary. Like, if
right.
You know what I mean? Like, if he wasn't blocking him, just fall forward, fake it, I don't know, trip or something. My man tried to punch him to stop him. The play counted.
Yep. What's hilarious too is like people in the comments were like, okay, so basically when a corner gets beat off the line, we should not include that in their passer rating when targeted because they weren't ready or they didn't get a good jump off the. What are we talking about? But anyway. Right. So PFF kind of tried to double down, said in an effort to be transparent with our grading process this season, we'd like to share reasoning behind not crediting or not charting Rashan Gary's sack against Lane Johnson. They went on with this whole thing. And so somebody pulled the receipts. Check this quote tweet out from If I Was Richard, at If I Was Richard, okay? Check this out. He says, when you have agendas, look at this tweet from PFF. Why Michigan edge defender Rashan Gary is not a first-round talent. That's tweet 1. Right. Tweet number 2 is Chase Winovich a better prospect than Rashan Gary? And then tweet 3, yep, Chase Winovich is better NFL Draft 2019 prospect than Rashan Gary. Absolutely hilarious though, because where's Chase Winovich? Can someone find him for me? Because I'm pretty sure he's not even in the league anymore. So I couldn't believe that when I seen that dude pull those receipts. Like, kudos. That's how you handle the situation.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's why he doesn't get the love, right? It's a trend.
And again, they want to prop Lane Johnson up like he still hasn't given up a sack. Man, it's hilarious. So anyway, you guys know how I feel about sacks. I would much rather have a higher pressure rate and lower sack number than a higher sack number and a much lower pressure rate. When you're getting pressure on the quarterback, you're affecting the entire play. What I mean by that is if you lined up 2 scenarios to say, okay, which would you rather have? A guy who has 10 sacks and only 15 pressures on the year? Or would you rather have a guy who has 8 sacks and 25 pressures on the year? I'm going with the 25 pressures. That's me. So, and again, that's a very just random number there that it doesn't really range out to how the NFL kind of comes out in sacks and pressure percentage as far as a rate standpoint. But just hilarious that they're still trying to double down on that for sure, man. Let's do this, man. Before we get into the injury report and the practice updates, all that stuff, I love this from Nerdin on NFL on X. They do this every week, and it's like the cheat sheet to every week in the NFL. Phenomenal. It shows all the games listed out, obviously, tonight, Thursday Night Football. You got the Cowboys at the Giants, so it's got every game listed in order of kickoff time and day. And then in the middle column, you've got the standings for each division. And then on the right, you've got the league leaders, right? And then at the very bottom right, you've got the most offensive yards per game and the least yards allowed per game. So really, really cool stuff here. Just to take a quick glance of the games that really matter to us. The Rams are going to be at the Chicago Bears at 1:00. two things. We love to root against the Bears. Obviously, we're going to be playing them twice this year, so you get a little view of them. It sucks that the game's going on at the same time as the Packers, but you can go back and watch it on NFL Plus or any other whatever service you got if you're DVRing or whatever. And then you've got the LA Rams are going to be coming down the pike here real soon too for the Packers. If I've got the schedule here, just to take a quick glance, we got the Rams next
week.
So that'll be a really, really cool way of getting a glance at them. So Rams at the Bears. And then obviously we're playing the Vikings, so that's the other divisional game there. And then for Monday Night Football this week, there's going to be a doubleheader, Titans at the Dolphins, but at the 8:15 Eastern kickoff, that'd be 7:15 Lambeau time, the Seattle Seahawks, who I believe are undefeated, right? Yeah, 3-0 Seattle Seahawks will be going into Detroit to face the 2-1 Lions. So that'll be another game to kind of keep your eye on. One other thing here, Emilio, if you look in the bottom right, the Green Bay Packers offensive yards per game, they are 5th in the league at 391.7 yards per game, which is absolutely awesome. Notice the Vikings aren't in the top 5 there. And then if you look at the least yards allowed per game, the Vikings aren't in the top 5, although most people would agree they've got a really good defense this year. So there's yards to be had against the Vikings. Their red zone defense is really good. That's where the Packers have struggled, both on offense and defenses in the red zone. So
yeah.
You pointed that out time and time again, though.
That's it. We've been talking about that. That needs to get, sharpened up. Obviously, Matt knows that, and Jordan, Malik, whoever's out there knows that. But that is one thing that we're going to have to convert. Also, I like that the 391 over half that is running the ball. That's huge. I think we need to keep that up. We're 60-40 pretty much right now on run first pass, and I think Matt needs to stick to that number. But I really do like this chart. And I think that the Rams have something to show against the Bears. I was looking on YouTube earlier. CHGO had a vote. They had about a 70-30 who was going to win. So 70% Bears, 30% Rams. So on a Bears, network podcast, whatever. That's not complete faith in the team. So I'm excited to see what Sean McVay's got for him.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And again, if you can somehow, some way beat the Vikings this Sunday, you're in the driver's seat of the North. That's essentially what that means, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's too early to say you can control your own destiny, obviously, but that's obviously the benchmark right now. Michael Lombardi said just a couple of days ago, the NFC North is the best division in football right now.
Mm-hmm. It's a 2-game swing. If they go 4-0 and we go 2-2, that's going to be a tough hill to climb moving forward. Just because we got the Rams, Cardinals, and then it's the Lions. So it's not like we have too much time off until we face the next divisional, and then it's only going to speed up from there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No doubt about it. Well, let's see here. We got Venom Slash in the chat says, I think Green Bay won't announce who the quarterback is until 90 minutes before the game to throw the Vikings off, which is smart. I love it, Venom. Absolutely love it. Emilio, they have to plan for –
He's limited.
Yeah, exactly. And they have to plan for Malik Willis, right? And if they spend all that practice time watching the tape and what Malik Willis has done with these zone reads, these read options, RPRs, some of that little wishbone-ish look from week 2, they're going to waste all that practice time. And then if Jordan does march out there, let's stretch this thing out vertically, right? Yep. It's going to be interesting, man.
It really is. And I think that's why Matt's running it, right? That's why he's going to run it up to the whistle. He's going to be limited or questionable until the end of the week, no doubt. Why not make them do that extra bit of work? Because you heard half in his interview. I know we're going to hit some of it, but there's so much to break down that they're doing. There's so much to break down that, our offense is doing with Malik versus Jordan. And what are they going to do? Go back and watch the first game. They're going to have to, just to be sure, what were they doing in that Phillies game when, he was moving the ball, things like that. It's just, you got a double game plan. That's putting them at a disadvantage helps you. Yeah,
absolutely. So again, shout out to Nerdin on NFL. Make sure you go give them a follow. They release this every week, and it's awesome. Awesome graphics. So, all right, Emilio, let's get into, before we dive into game planning against the Vikings, let's talk about the injury report real quick. Obviously, that dropped earlier today. First of all, let's do this. The vibes were high at practice today. Kyle Malzahn, I think, tweeted this out, if I'm pronouncing that name right. Look at the vibes here at practice today, man. Look at them doing the Fortnite dances. Sean Clifford getting everybody amped up. Got Ben Sims in on it, right? Look at Malik back there.
Malik got in on it.
What's Sean right here?
Nice.
Oh, no, what's just right here? What's Sean? I think he's got one more in him. Nope, he already did it. It was in the background.
Just in between the high knee sets for warm ups. Got to stay loose. And then do you see?
There it is. Sean, he's had the seizure, didn't it? So anyway, the vibes are obviously high at practice, man. This is what you love to see right here.
Yeah, and you gotta make sure that lettuce up front is taking.
You call me anything you want, but don't call me that.
You seem just working it. Absolutely working it through. But Jay Love's right there in the mix of it too. He said, I don't need to I don't need to do that to the knee, but I appreciate the energy you guys are bringing, both my quarterbacks. Yeah, I love it. And it's Sims too. Don't you love it that it's Sims?
Yeah. It's a really cool roster, man. Everybody is unified. It's
you know what did you listen to Rich, right? Did you listen to
I did not listen to Rich Bisaccia. I just listened
to hold on, all right, keep talking for 1 second. The dude's name was a Giants tight end, Mark Bravaro. Yes, Mark Bravaro. Coach Bisaccia told Tucker Kraft that he reminds him of Mark Bravaro. Then he went home and Mark Bravaro did some research on him, listened to that interview he gave on YouTube, all that stuff. And, it just like he is a tough physical player. He plays it because he loves football. He plays hard. And, after the catch, and Tucker's like, I like that. I like the way he plays. I think I, mold myself around someone that plays tough, plays through injuries, and, just do anything you can to help the team.
Yeah, definitely. Mark Bavaro, for those of you who don't know, he played for Bill Parcells with the Giants. He was just an absolute dog. Unfortunately, I think he's in a wheelchair now, maybe. Hopefully that's not the case. I've seen some images where it kind of looked like he was, but I'm going to try to get this image pulled up of him here. If it'll pull up on StreamYard. Bavaro was a dog.
Because he was saying how when he played at Notre Dame, walked onto the Giants stadium on to play their game on Saturday, they were getting off the field from their practice. He goes past Lawrence Taylor and he's like, dude, I couldn't imagine even having to try to block those guys or, tackle those guys. He's like, I was playing against guys who are 6 foot, 5'11", 6'1" in college, and you go to 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" people in the NFL, 250. It's a different game. You got to, yeah, exactly.
Look at this guy,
dude. Built like a brick wall.
Right.
I mean,
here's the guy.
That's exactly what he would. That's probably what he said to him when he saw him run on the field. But that's it. You got to just play hard and physical. If you're not the biggest guy out there, you got to be able to use technique and speed and precision to beat the man in front of you. And there's Tuck right there with the red jersey on at the end, doing the high knees. So
yeah, obviously he's got the red jersey on because of the shoulder. They're trying to limit the contact. I guarantee you they did that for a reason too, because that dude is not going to shy away from contact, whether it's practice or not. So they're probably like, listen, it's on the defense. You guys have got to stay away from
He even said in his interview, he's like, yeah, I just tell the guy across from me, give me about 75. I still want to work on my hand placement and foot technique. 75% in the red jersey. I don't even think that's what they're looking for, but, we'll take it.
75 is actually 10 more than
65%.
65%. That's what those of you keeping score at home. So let's move on to the injury report real quick, Emilio. It looks like a CBS receipt. There's no doubt about it. But I'm really liking the way it's trending here. And it seems like Matt LaFleur and his staff, they tend to load up the injury report, even with players they know are going to play. I kind of like it, man. I like that approach. So let's talk about what changed on the injury report, okay? So limited on Wednesday was Elton Jenkins with veteran rest. Obviously, he's good to go, full participation. Tucker Kraft, who was limited with the shoulder on Wednesday, was full participation today, but keep in mind, red jersey, right? So that is worth noting, like we just talked about.
Red means stop, like a street light, right?
Josh Myers, shoulder injury, was limited on Wednesday, full participation today. Zach Tom with the quadricep was limited on Wednesday. He's full participation today. And then not listed on Wednesday was Devontae Wyatt with a shoulder injury. He wasn't listed. That must have happened Wednesday, and now he popped up on the injury report today with a limited participation. I don't think there's anything to worry about with any of those guys. Everyone else on this list too, Jair Alexander, Kenny Clark, Jordan Love, Luke Musgrave, Jaden Reed, and Carrington Valentine all limited. I think they're going to be good to go. I do. Other than, Jordan's the game time decision, which I'm kind of expecting Jordan to play personally. Part of me still wants to see Malik. I can't lie. That was a lot of fun in Tennessee.
The first thing I screamed out there was revenge tour. Clayton turned to me, started smiling, and he just wants that to keep rolling.
It was a blast watching him scramble, man. And again, Jordan can scramble, but not like that. Not like that.
And they were asking Matt, what have you ever been a part of a team or a coach or whatever that had set up a certain package for a backup quarterback or anything like that? He said no, but he said he had been a part of a team that put in something for a Wildcat, and he said that he wouldn't go into that information until offseason. So,
yeah, got it. All right, so on the Minnesota Vikings side, here's what changed. Garrett Bradbury, center with an ankle injury, did not participate on Wednesday. He was limited today. Jonathan Bullard, defensive lineman with a knee, was limited on Wednesday. He did not participate today. So it looks like Jonathan Bullard, defensive lineman, had a setback. I could be reading too much into it. Maybe it was just, hey, let's get him rested up until the game. But that typically means they had a setback, right? Not listed. Check this out. Not listed on Wednesday was Christian Darrisaw, okay? He was listed today, did not participate with an illness. So I don't know if he's got a virus or just the bubble guts. But nonetheless, Christian Darrisaw didn't practice. All right. And the other one that changed was Dallas Turner, outside linebacker / edge defender with a knee injury, was limited on Wednesday. He was full participation today. All right. So everyone else pretty much stayed the same, like Ivan Pace Jr., Jay Ward. They did not participate again today. That was how they were the other day. And then in the limited fashion, Jordan Addison is still limited. It looks like he's going to play with the ankle injury. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how that's shaping up right there.
Yeah, and crazy that it's week 3, and we already have a list going. When we were knocking on wood that we were healthy coming out of preseason, we're happy about that, but it's going to happen. You're playing a physical game. I'm happy it's not just ankles and knees, right? We got a little bit, everyone's got their own thing, and they're going to work through it, and we're hopefully going to get a couple of them off, for good this week moving forward. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's shift gears now. We talked about the offensive game plan earlier today. We'll kind of recap that as we get closer to game day. But one of the things I wanted to point out, you keep hearing about these exotic blitzes, the zero and all that. If you listen to the mainstream sports media, they're talking like the Vikings are just blitzing everybody all the time. Guys, that is not true, okay? They run more zero than anyone in the league. There's no doubt about it. You can see here they run that 10% of the time. The only other team that does that is the Raiders, okay? So the Raiders and the Vikings at 10%. Then you got the Titans at 9%. And then everybody else kind of tapers off. So they are running more cover zero, which is a heavy man coverage blitz, than anyone in the league. But that doesn't mean they're doing it more than the other coverages, right? And the thing that they do the most, like we talked about earlier, was they play a lot of cover 2 and they play a lot of cover 4. So they're in zone, cover 2 zone 26% of the time, cover 4 25% of the time, cover 3 zone 14% of the time, cover 6 8% of the time, and then cover 1 man 8% of the time, cover 2 man 1% of the time. So if you tallied up all the man coverage scheme calls there, it's basically 10, 8, 1. So you've got 19% of the snaps. All right, 19% of the snaps are in man coverage. The rest of the time, they're in zone. So don't buy into all that hoopla. Now, don't get me wrong. When they don't go zero coverage blitz, they can still get pressure on the quarterback. Let me give you an example of that. This was one of the sacks from Sunday's matchup against the Texans, okay? And this was, I just tweeted out, said the Vikings are known for their exotic pre-snap looks, but they can also hit home with a 4-man rush. Here you see Van Ginkel hit home with a TE stunt out of an overload front. Notice the halfback leak is wide open with the defenders turning their back to the quarterback. Big play miss. So I want to point that out because, as you can see here, there's still holes in this defense. So notice the overload, Emilio. We talk about it, right? There's your 3 overload and your wide 9 opposite side. We've talked about it a lot this year. Watch Van Ginkel right here. When we talk about a TE stunt, guys, these tackles are going to engage and walk everyone to the right, and then Van Ginkel is going to take a jab step, and then he's going to loop around for a TE stunt. And you'll see it better on the box cam, but watch it here, and then I'll show you where the open receiver was. Beautiful. I mean, he's got a great burst. He's a hell of a football player. He's one of my Tuesday players, okay? Yeah. Now watch it from the box cam here. You'll get a little bit better look. So you see Van Ginkel just off screen to your left. All right. Now you're going to watch. Look how far he's coming from, too. Watch the jab step. See the jab? Bang. He's around. So C.J. Stroud didn't even see him. The protection completely misses it. But what I want you to key in on is look at this running back, too. Okay? Jordan Love dumps this to the running back. I'm sorry. Look at that. Now, if he dumps that to the running back right here, looking away from the play. That's going to end up being an explosive. Guarantee it.
And honestly, I think Jordan Love even sees it, or not the twist, obviously, but sees, why do we need 3 people? I mean, you got a guard, a tackle, and a running back chip on that. Like, hey, Jacobs, I need you to just kick out early, man. Because they have if we're sitting at quarterback, they got the overload to the left side, field side, so they have three to the wide side. I'm working with 1 and a short, and I know that I'm going to have both, dual chips. I think you take your option to go right faster than you take your option to go left, and you give that, your first read, obviously a quick look. But if it's not there, and the C's part in the middle of the, in the middle like that, I think something's coming.
Yeah, and this is what we talk about with that overload. You're trying to get a hat on the left, and then try to free up over here. Look at this offensive lineman. He has no assignment. He's not helping anything.
Right. And he doesn't even take a peek. Even if he he knows there's a chip over there, maybe they feel confident in having that tackle handle him. All right, then put your hand out to the right. Just feel where he is, but swing your head to the left. You could have at least tried to throw a block on him. Giving CJ another route, another little angle to go through, something.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and again, that's kind of the equivalent to our pony packages. The only difference is they've got a tight end in the sidecar there.
Which Tucker probably would have done. I think Matt would do that with Tucker.
And keep in mind our orbit motion and everything, too, how it would throw all of this out of whack as well. So I just wanted to point that out, that everybody's talking about these exotic blitzes and everything. Here's a snap that it was either a 2nd and 10 or it was like a 3rd and 7 that this play happened on.
Do you remember what they were running behind it?
As far as coverage, I didn't. I'm sure it was zone. Let's walk it back. Let's see.
Can we see
talk about what they do? So first of all, look at the shell coverage. Right? Everybody's making it sound like they're just always mugging the line of scrimmage, and it's not the case, right? They're going to show some shell. So what we mean by shell, they got 2 deep safeties. Let's see if we can pick up on what this call is. I'm going to try to walk it through somewhat slow. Let's see. Watch the corner on the bottom of the screen.
He drops it early, too. He kind of drops really early. That's a deep cover 3 where they got a couple hook curls underneath, but they're carrying far. I mean, those hook curls are carrying 15 yards up the field.
Right. Yeah, if you look at that, to me, that's cover 2. See how they each got half? And I think it's Tampa 2 maybe, because see how that backer – nope, they didn't follow the vert.
No, isn't there a dude standing right on the horn right now? There's a dude on the 50, a dude on the horn.
Oh, right here. Yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah.
So I thought that was that's a deep cover 3, and it looks like it's a long developing route tree. There's not a lot – there's no quick slants, there's no drag. It's a lot of – it looked like an outside corner.
Remember when we talked in the offseason about these new trends that are going into the NFL? And we talked about
here we go.
we talked about pistol.
Yep.
We talked about 3 deep, didn't we?
Yo.
There's your 3 deep.
And he went what got me smiling is he went super early. You rewind that back just a smidge, bring me back to the beginning. That corner starts bailing. I mean, they almost look like they're in 3 shell right away.
Yeah, they really are, dude.
That's kind of wild.
Yeah, that is.
And then only bringing 4. So I think you got to know who your hot is. Let's get them out a lot faster because the corner on the 30 carries really far. The 2 backers drop 15 yards deep.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a cover 3. You're right, man. That's cover 3 zone. Got a little bit of match down here though, for sure. That's definitely not spot drop.
Right.
Turn their back, so it's almost like a 3 deep man. As silly as that sounds, but yeah, just something to keep an eye on. They play a lot of dime too. They like to bring Harrison Smith up to the line of scrimmage from time to time. He's just an absolute dog. I had 2 interceptions keyed up. I didn't get the tweets sent out. I wanted to show both of C.J. Stroud's interceptions, and I'll just kind of fill you guys in what happened. So C.J. Stroud had more than enough time to throw the football. It wasn't like the pressure was in his face in less than 3 seconds. He didn't have time. He stepped up in the pocket on one play, miscommunication with his receiver who was kind of running a post, and he was expecting him to break it off and sit down. So he ends up throwing behind the receiver as the receiver continued on the post. So that was a mental error, miscommunication. It wasn't like the Vikings did anything extravagant to make that interception happen. Next play, ball snapped, and as CJ Stroud drops back to pass, he's expecting his tight end to go hot. Tight end doesn't get his head around, and by the time CJ Stroud throws it, defensive lineman bats the ball up in the air, and it gets picked. So keep that in mind. They are good at getting their hands up, and also both of those interceptions were mental mistakes by the offense. It wasn't like just a great defensive play. They really did give them that turnover differential, no doubt. So something
Greg
to keep
was saying, Mike Wall said their safeties are really deep.
There it is.
Breaking it down. So, and then also Dennis, here we go. Am I crazy thinking that no matter who's in at QB, we could run all over these guys? I think that's also a fair point. But again, I mean, there wasn't an inside route until it was like a chip and leak. Like you're not giving your quarterback any option if we're kicking everybody outside. They're nasty split, but then we're running outside breaking routes. That's
Right.
not helping, your quarterback.
Let me pull up the team statistics real quick, since he said that about the running on them. And listen, even if their running defense looks good statistically, it's worth mentioning that we may match up well, right? We got one of the best running offenses in the league right now. Let me drop that down. I'll go ahead and exit that out. I'm sure we're done with it. Let me get this up. Let's see what it was. Just a quick refresher of yards per attempt against the run, on their defense. So yards per attempt, defensively low number, obviously ranked higher here. Minnesota is third in the league. They're only allowing 3.6 yards per attempt. So they've got a stout run defense statistically. Now, you go, okay, who did they face? Houston. Who's their running back? I can't think of who it is. Right? San Francisco, Christian McCaffrey, right? Nope, he didn't play in that game. And then the other team they played was the New York Giants. So I think it's safe to say we have the best running game that they faced so far this year. So who was it? Was it Dennis Shook that said that?
Yes, it was.
So you might be onto something there, Dennis, for sure. And listen, we want to come out and try to establish the run. There's no doubt about it. So
because I'm trying to pull them up. Okay, yeah, right now their yards per game for rushing yards a game, 71.3 yards a game. The only team that's better is the Ravens at 50 yards. So I mean, we've been putting up double what they've allowed the past 2 weeks, pretty much. We've put up at least 140 in the past 2 games. That's going to be the clash of the Titans right there. Is if we can make that run game count, then they're going to have to bring their safeties out of that 3 high shell that we're looking at right there, and then then your pass games opens up. Everything else starts flowing.
Definitely. So rushing yards per attempt, Green Bay second in the league, like you said, behind Baltimore. Baltimore's got 5.9. Green Bay has 5.5. So, yeah, man.
So we're putting up that amount of yards per game, and they're only allowing their rush yards per play that they're allowing is third at 3.6. So I mean, it's a battle.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, dude. You're again, they haven't faced great running backs so far because Christian McCaffrey being out, and obviously Houston's more known for their really deep receiving core and CJ Stroud, and then of course their pass rush on the defensive side of the ball. We all know about San Fran's defense, and then of course the New York Giants, they got rid of Saquon Barkley, so it's not like they've got an elite running back over there. So we're going to see, man. We're about to find out for sure. And as we pointed out earlier today, explosives. Green Bay's leading the National Football League at 14.1%. The other thing, we got to be fair, though, Emilio, when we're talking about these yards per attempt, who have we played, right? Who have we played? We played Philadelphia Eagles, pretty good front. I think we would all agree, right?
You like comparing to the Niners.
We played the Colts, one of the worst run defenses in the league, if I remember correctly, right? Let's take a quick gander here. It's funny, nobody was talking about that going in, but boy, by the time that game was over, everybody was talking about it. Let's see.
Yeah, they are. They're number 2. Yards per game, they're at 179, only behind Dallas at 185.
Yeah, and they're at 4.4 yards per carry, so they're tied for 13th.
Okay, that's not too bad. They've just given up a lot, probably because of us.
Right. And then, of course, we play the Titans, and if you look at the Titans' run defense, nobody runs on Tennessee, of course, right? We all talked about that.
I think I heard that somewhere.
We dropped them down to rankings just a touch. They're down to 18th now, or 17th, tied for 17th. So there you go. All right. Well, I'm glad he brought that up because that was worth diving into for sure. Let's do this now, man. Let's shift gears, and I'm going to keep that window close by in case we need it. But let's go ahead and switch gears over into Jeff Hafley's presser from earlier today. Let me get this on the screen here. Bear with me. So Jeff Hafley met with the media earlier today. This first exchange here, again, guys, I can't crank the volume up any louder. I'm definitely adjusting it for the podcast because I have time to edit the audio. But just crank up your TVs, crank up your phones so you can hear it. Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley talks about the challenges of facing the Vikings offense this week at Lambeau Field. Here we go.
Running the ball really well. And then I think his pass game, it's not just the players. I think it's also the scheme. And then he's got really good players too. I mean, obviously Jefferson, is probably the best wide receiver in the league. If Addison comes back this week, we played against him when I was in college, and I thought early on his rookie year he was going to be special the way he moved around and made plays. Remember that first game at Pitt, we played against him when he was a freshman. I was really impressed with him. Obviously the running back's a phenomenal player, and from what everybody around here says, is one of the most special human beings ever. Everyone seems to rave about him, so I'm sad I never got a chance to meet him. And then the offensive line, they're really well coached. They're tough. They're gritty. I think their tackles are really good players. They're strong. Both tackles are really good players. They're strong inside. They've really kind of pieced it all together. They're a talented team with a really good scheme. So that they present a challenge. They've been scoring a lot of points.
All right, so there you go. Just a quick glance into the mind of Jeff Hafley. We got a couple more here too. This one, he's going to be asked about Justin Jefferson specifically, but based off what he said right there, Emilio, what does that trigger in your mind as far as how to approach this and stopping the offense for the Vikings? Anything come to mind based off that?
Yeah, I mean, it's they're all getting paid to play too. Obviously, Justin Jefferson, we saw it on that chart you put up. He's the third or fourth wide receiver, bringing in receiving yards. Sam Darnold is a professional quarterback. Like Preston said in his interview, sometimes it's just the right time, right place, right time for those guys. And, maybe, now it's clicking for them and it's just working. And we know Aaron Jones. And that's what I was going to say earlier. Out of all those teams that they played, Vikings have, the greatest running back there. He wore the G. We love him for it. Obviously, we don't want him. We want, no yards, negative yards if we can, and a healthy Aaron Jones to get out of there. But it's they kind of have a three-headed monster. We got to make them force them one-sided. Are we going to go, a 2 and 3, or like Hafley was saying, are we going to put Ja and carry him around? Are we going to put Ja and Jefferson and have him carry? Do we want our best player on their best player? Do we want our second and third best on their best? We also have a safety that's rangy, that can get across the field, that can, react. He was saying he's reacting at the top of the quarterback's hitch before the ball's even leaving, before he's even pumping. X is running to that side of the field, and he has those instincts. So
definitely,
it's well, we're going to have to play him tough. It's always going to be up front, but I do think that if we can kind of make him one-dimensional, if we could take Aaron Jones out, or, if we just shut down Justin Jefferson and maybe make Addison and the rest work it.
Yeah, definitely. So here was Coach Hafley tweeted out. Defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley was asked about the challenges of scheming around Justin Jefferson, how he has picked the brain of Derek Ansley, having coached against him at other stops. Here we go.
And how much, do you have to lean on some other people too?
Well, one, you turn on the tape, and it doesn't take you very long to figure out how good he is. I mean, he's big. He can catch the ball. He's fast. He can run all the routes. He's good when he catches the ball and catch and run. He's got incredible hands. But we've had guys in this building who've played him. DA is coached up against him. RD and those guys have coached up against him. So, yeah, you definitely want to pick other people's brains. And I've talked to other coaches in the league about him. But all you have to do is turn on the tape. I mean, the tape speaks louder than anyone can tell me. So you got to know where he is, and you have to pick and choose times to scheme around him. You can't just scheme around him the whole game. They have other really good players too. I mean, I think that's the difference when they're running the ball really well too. So you just worry about him all game, and then you're going to look down and they're going to beat you up in the run game. I think that's what they've done such a good job of this year, both coaching and playing. They can do both.
All right. So obviously talking about, listen, if you're going to build your whole game plan around let's stop Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones is going to run wild. And on top of that, you got Jordan Addison, who's a solid young player as well. You can't, I know most fans want to just kind of gear everything around just stop JJ, but reality is it's damn near impossible to do that. But Justin Jefferson, the question is going to be, do we let Ja travel, right? Is he going to do that? Hafley's not scared to do that. We've seen that in week 1. Didn't work out that well.
Right.
I'm hoping they don't have him travel with JJ. What I think, when another comment he made was talking about, yeah, I'm not opposed to that. Essentially, is what he's saying. We'll let him travel, and you've got to put your guys in position to be successful. But reading between the lines, what they're looking at, they're not looking at it just simply like, we put John and JJ, we're good. They're looking at it from a analytics standpoint, going, okay, what are Justin Jefferson's top 5 routes that he's run this year? Meaning, what route on the route tree? Okay, how does that tie into the rest of the offense conceptually? Okay, right. Now defense can we call on his side of the field to shut down that concept and neutralize him in that way, right? I think that's probably more of what he's looking to do, Emilio.
Yeah, no, and I think that's how you got to kind of approach it, because he can do it all. He can run a motion, he can run a 9, he can run a comeback, and he has those little subtle moves to catch the corner sleeping. If he's locked up on Eric Stokes and he does a hitch and go, and Stokes bites on the hitch, and maybe Bullard rolled down into coverage, and maybe X was trying to help Ja over the top, it's over. So it's kind of like that one mistake thing. If you make one, is he gonna roast us? Most likely, we could get burned just because he's that good of an athlete. He's elite. He has all the talent. So, but I know he's going to get his. We just got to make sure it's not an explosive 250-yard day kind of thing, and reel in him and Aaron Jones. If we can keep them both at 100, maybe Aaron under 100, Jefferson right at around 100. I think we got a great shot to win it, and I think that's how Jeff's kind of looking at it. We're not going to stop them. They're not going to have 0 yards of offense, and it's not going to be, it's not going to be easy to do it. But I think that they need to tighten up and restrict them as much as they can.
Yeah, and you got to smack Sam Darnold right in the mouth, dude, all day long.
I think you can get his bell rung, and make him be a little hesitant to throw the ball or quick to get rid of it. I think that would be big. We can get him in a couple punts, maybe play the field position game, and if we can keep him off the field too, let's keep that time of possession up. But their defense also makes takeaways. They got 2 a game, and we're at 3 a game, so our offense got to be ready too.
Randy Cleaver's in the chat said, didn't Valentine shut him down last year talking about JJ? It was actually Corey Ballantyne that did, and he dominated the whole game. But keep in mind, guys weren't traveling, right? And that's all scheme there. And we've got a different approach this year. Obviously, we're not just showing the same 2 high shell pre-snap. So that may open some things up, but it also allows us to disguise, right? And I'm telling you, Emilio, I catch myself grinning every time when I come to the realization of, oh, yeah, we have Xavier McKinney back there. Like, that dude is a damn dog.
He has a possum in a dumpster.
Exactly. You cannot overstate the impact that Xavier McKinney's having on this defense. And I really do think that defenses are maybe taking their attention off of him a little bit. And that's what's allowing Ja to get some of these interceptions as well. Like when they came out in that empty set, and you see the coverage, Will Levis read it correctly. That's what's crazy about that pick 6. He came out and he read cover 3, which means let D-Hop get the corner to flip his hips, and I'm just going to hammer this curl route. We got our coverage right here. There's no way they're in anything other than cover 1 man or cover 3, both of which you'll beat that defense with a curl. But Ja went off script and said, you know what? He can't burn me deep. I'm just going to sit on this curl. Took it to the house. So just something.
And like you said, having somebody on the other side you got to worry about is key, because if you're looking left and say, I don't want to throw it over the top, or I don't want to throw it to a curl with X sitting over, over the left side. If I got Ja on the right and you got your best receiver D-Hops, why aren't you going to give him a shot? And then maybe people are sleeping on Ja, they don't think that he still got it or something like that. Gives them a little bit more fuel, motivation. You heard it on the breakdown. That's the job we need. That's the job we want. And I think he's taken that mentality and running with it this year.
Definitely. That's the end of hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour 2. We appreciate y'all. All right. So let's continue here with Jeff Hafley's presser. As Aaron Jones is set to make his return to Lambeau Field on Sunday, Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley talks about the challenge of stopping him both in the run and the pass. Crank that volume up, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go.
What quality about Aaron Jones, when you watch the tape, jumps out at you most?
He runs with violence. He's got this burst to him that he just wants to run through people, and he's fast. He can bounce it and hit it, and he's got a great stiff arm. He's an explosive player, and he can catch the ball to the backfield. He's good in the screen game. They empty him out. They release him through the backfield. He's a complete player, and you guys probably know it better than I do because you've been around him for so long. So like I said, I don't know him like everybody around here knows him, and it kind of sounds like I wish I did know him because he seems like one of the greatest guys around, and that's awesome. And this week we got to do everything we can to play great defense against him.
So obviously he's well aware of Aaron Jones and the threat he's going to be. Listen, you're going to get the best Aaron Jones come Sunday.
Yeah.
You got to come out there. Listen, cheer him when he comes out of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Give him his standing ovation. Thank you for your service. And then when they're on the field, you get loud and you get nasty, right? Because it's all about getting that dub. I think by cheering like that, guys, it kind of makes a player a little emotional, takes your game a touch.
Clayton wants him to get in your head. If you're not throwing dust as you're sliding into second, you're not trying, right?
Now, if you boo him coming out and you're just rude as hell, he's going to be like, you know what, screw these people. Let's turn it loose, right? And the emotions are out the window. It's just going to be anger and running hard. Aaron Jones is still a dog.
Yeah.
The reason he's not in Green Bay is because this is the way I think Goody approached it. He's like, okay, we got him at this number. The dude took a pay cut 2 years in a row, first of all, right? So you can't expect him to take a third one. Goody's looking at Josh Jacobs. Hey, Josh Jacobs here. We can get him for this price. He's going to be better long-term than Aaron Jones because Aaron Jones is obviously older. And let's be real, he's been battling injuries. That'll probably resurface at some point this year. I can't imagine he's going to stay healthy for all 17 games. But, man, you cannot deny he is still Aaron Jones on the field. He is lighting it up this year.
Yeah. And it's not like we don't have great memories of him running up and down that field, that specific field. He knows what cleats he's going to wear. He knows how to prepare out there. He knows what it's going to feel like. So it's not like it's, he's never been there before. But like you said, we got to cheer him when he comes out, and we just got to play him hard. This will be the first time they're probably tackling him 100% ever. And maybe they did it sometimes in practice, but, Rashan Gary's going to have a shot at him. Kenny's going to have a shot. Preston. Him and Aaron Jones their moms are they're good friends, and he said that they might be together for a little bit during the game just because how great of people they are. So we love him for everything he's done, but yeah, we need to go out there and stop him. We definitely need to keep him under 100 yards, and I think we got a great shot.
Yeah, I do too, man. I think that the whole scouting, the whole game plan should be geared around shutting down Aaron Jones. So,
but we had him in a pony package. We had him out wide. Matt LaFleur has done all these things with him. It's not like we don't know that he could line up at wide receiver and be up against Quay. You know what I mean? Like we could get ourselves into that predicament, and they know that as well. If they like that matchup, they're gonna try to exploit it.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. So let's talk about what the defensive game plan may or may not be for defeating the Minnesota Vikings offense here. And let's just start to dive into some of the charts here. Okay, let's start with Aaron Jones week 1. What do you notice here, Emilio? 14 carries, 94 yards, and a touchdown. This was against the Giants. A lot of success running left, didn't they? Uh-oh. Think we might have a delay here, Emilio.
Whoa,
Hopefully
storm's rolling in. I'm good.
All right, so what I said was Aaron Jones week 1 against the Giants, a lot of success running left here. As you can see, 6 attempts for 41 yards and a touchdown. Outside left, inside left, 3 attempts for 28 yards. Inside right, only 3 attempts for 16 yards. Outside right, 2 for 9 yards. So kind of see a theme there against the Giants, right?
Yep.
All right, so week 2 against San Fran, Tyson Chandler actually had a better game than Aaron Jones, so we keyed in on his run chart here. So this is against San Fran. He had the most success wide zone right, or wide right, I should say, outside right. 3 attempts off tackle for 32 yards. Second most successful in that game was inside left at 3 attempts for 26 yards. Then outside left, 3 attempts for 18 yards. Inside right, 1 attempt for 6 yards. Aaron Jones that week struggled. 9 carries, 32 yards. You could see, though, the game plan there was to run outside right, off tackle right, 2 attempts, 18 yards. Same as Tyson Chandler. That's where they had their success. So week 1, outside left. Week 2, outside right. Very versatile in that regard. They've got 2 of the best tackles in the game right now, right? So I think that between Christian Darrisaw and O'Neal at right tackle, Darrisaw at left tackle, O'Neal at right tackle, you've also got Randall at left guard. You can run outside either way, and Aaron Jones running violent the way that Coach Hafley was talking about, man, he's really built for that style of run. Stretch it outside, cut it back in across the grain. The same thing he did to San Francisco in the playoffs there a couple of years ago. Actually, last year, remember the big run he had? It was off tackle left, cut it all the way back across the field, took it up the sideline for a huge explosive. So
that means the backside DN, or the backside end's got to stay home. You got to stay in your gap. You got to know where you're filling. But yeah, if we could have him at 9 or 10 carries for 30 yards and force Sam to have to throw the ball because we get up to a lead, I think we're in business.
Yeah, no doubt. So week 3 against Houston, inside left, all right, off guard left, 8 attempts, 73 yards. Outside left, 6 attempts, 19 yards. Inside right, 4 attempts for 7 yards. Outside right, 1 attempt for 3 yards. So if you had to lean one way or the other,
they're running left.
You need to lean left. Now, they can run it off tackle right, so you can't get too crazy, but you need to be well aware. How do you approach that? Do you widen your tech just a little bit? Do you go, instead of a 3 tech, you go to a 4-eye on that side? And you, instead of a 1 tech, do you just play shade over the center, kind of a nose approach? Do you get aggressive there, or do you bring up an extra safety in the box and let everybody play their normal splits, or even play kind of an even look on the front, right? There's a couple different ways you can approach this. But if you had to choose which way to cheat a half a gap, it's going to be to the left against the Vikings here early in the season. So
yeah, it's got to be. And I was just kind of looking here. His inside the tackles last game against the Texans, 63%. The Niners was 67 or 66%, and the Giants was 42%. And I'm thinking maybe they were trying to run away from Bosa or something. I didn't watch the Vikings-Niners game, but maybe that's it, or they just feel more comfortable running the ball over the left side. He's also been under center at minimum 77%, which was the Niners game, 78% for the Giants, and 84% for the Texans. So he's got a 2-way go all the time. Where we had put him a lot in sidecar, he looks like he's coming downhill left or right a lot more, which gives that 2-way option. So again, going to be a little bit tougher on the defense. We got to make sure we're gap sound.
Definitely, no doubt about it. So again, what did we learn? Running game. First of all, Sam Darnold, not a big threat to scramble, right? So push the middle of the pocket, okay? And here's the thing too, with your edges, you need to stay gap sound on that outside shoulder. But again, if we're running a 4-3, how do you want to approach that, right? If we're in base a lot, it's technically a 1 gap. But remember what Coach LaFleur said, 2 back equals 2 gap. What we uncovered, here is their personnel tendencies in Minnesota. 11 personnel, 62.3% of the time. That's 18th most in the league. So we're going to be in our nickel set the majority of the time. We may go big nickel. We'll see. 12 personnel, 20.4% of the time. That's 16th most in the league. So that's kind of middle of the pack. 21 personnel, 15% of the snaps. That's 6th most in the league. So you're going to see a lot of 2-back sets, Emilio. Remember, 2 back equals 2 gap. That's Matt LaFleur's words, not mine. No matter if you're running a 34 or a 43. Now, we'll see if Hafley chooses to just get really aggressive and go 1 gap. We'll see. But that's definitely something to keep your eye on there when it comes to the running game for sure. So, and if we were to look at the EPA, and this is just strictly through personnel, this doesn't differentiate between run and pass. They're good at both, to be honest with you. Their highest efficiency as far as personnel goes, in 12 personnel, their EPA is 0.35 per play. That's 2nd best in the league. They are really effective out of 12 personnel. 21 personnel, their EPA is 0.01. That's 11th best in the league. And then 11 personnel, their EPA is 0.06. That's 14th best in the league. So 12 personnel, 21 personnel, then 11 personnel in order of efficiency, if you will. Again, though, they run 11 personnel 62% of the time. So their least efficient offensive formation, or personnel, I should say, that's what they're best at. Now, let's talk about the splits, okay? Let's talk about how they line up, formationally. 1-by-3, one target on the left, trips or Trey right, okay? Their EPA is 0.46 when they go trips or Trey right. That's second best in the league, all right? 2-by-2, meaning two targets on the left, two targets on the right, even set, 0.35 EPA. That's third best in the league. And then 2-by-1 sets, 2 on the left, 1 on the right. That's probably your 21 personnel, probably going strong left out of the 21. 0.19 EPA. That's ninth best in the league. So the big thing there is there's no real tendency there other than keying on their 1-by-3. I guarantee you Hafley's going when their trips are Trey right, what's their top concepts and how do they like to run? My guess is if they go Trey right out of 11, they're probably running weak side, and that's where you're getting some of those big gains on the left outside with the Aaron Jones.
Right, especially if you're manning up or anything like that. You got to account for everyone over there. If you're not sending anyone over, they know it's zone, and if they're confident, if they're going trips right, confident running the ball over the left tackle, left guard, keep forcing it. If your box is, if the box is light, even if it's 7, even if it's even, keep running it. And I saw that Jones was even making it happen on a stack box. He had stack box 47% of the time against the against the Texans. So, he still can do it. It's not like he can. And he ran it inside against the Texans a lot.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, so that is kind of when you're talking personnel, formation, all that good stuff, that kind of gives you an idea of where they sit, how often we're going to be in nickel. We're going to be in nickel a large majority of the time, but they're really way more effective EPA-wise in 12 and 21. And again, look for the 1-by-3 trips Trey right, look for the 2-by-2 sets, and then the 2-by-1. If I was Hafley, I would spend 0 time on trips and Trey left. I wouldn't even worry about it, to be honest with you. I'd just focus on those other 3 formations and roll with it. Let's talk about Sam Darnold's pass chart. Week 1 against the Giants, he was 19 of 24 for 208, 2 touchdowns and a pick. You see here, really likes to throw to the right, highly efficient short right passing game. Maybe 6 for 6 for 44 yards and under 10 yards out on the right side of the field. 2 for 2 from 10 to 20 yards on the right side for 29 yards, and then hit the only shot he took deep right, 21 yards. That was a touchdown pass. That was obviously more than 30 yards. So week 1 against the Giants, you would say he really liked to lean on throwing right. Okay, that's the tendency there. Week 2 against San Francisco, same exact thing. He's throwing the ball the majority of the time to the right. That's where he's heating up at. Deep middle, 2 for 2, 123 yards and a touchdown, beyond 20 yards down the seam. So keep that in mind. But again, he's throwing right the majority of the time. Week 3 against Houston, he opened it up a little bit more, had a little more success to the left. But still, it seems like, Emilio, his deep shots are going to be on the right side of the field too. So pretty even chart. But if I had to lean one way or another, I would be looking to get pressure from his right to deter him from throwing to the right, which is obviously his comfort zone.
Right. Yeah. You want to get pressure in his face if he's turning ball side all the time. And I think that it's going to be key that we can keep our front four fresh. I think we got to keep that hockey line, that rotation going. If we can keep just sending them, bring out the NASCAR package, do anything you can to get him flustered, is going to be huge. Look at that completion percentage, 19 of 24. We're not at, like, that's how much we asked Malik to pretty much throw it, right? It's not like, it's not like they're asking him to throw it 52 times a game. So
they're not Chicago, right?
Yeah, right. See, the offense is there. I mean, and with X being up there, I think those 30-yard deep balls are going to be maybe a little bit, few and far between. But that also means that sometimes X walks up to the line. Bull's got to be ready. He's got to be that safety net. We can't give up the big explosive. It can't be a one-play drive. It definitely cannot. I don't think that that's gonna bode well for the offense coming back out and then forcing the defense into having to try to play catch up.
Definitely. Randy Cleaver's in the chat says our defense is going to make Darnold look the way he's supposed to. I hope you're right, Randy. That would be absolutely awesome. And again, he faced San Francisco, right? Mm-hmm. Let's go back one more time. Against San Fran, he had a pretty darn good game, right? 17 to 26, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. That's pretty decent. That'll get the job done, right? So he's faced a good defense. I don't know if it's a better defense than ours, to be honest with you. I'd have to look at the numbers there. But yeah, the big thing is going to be the turnovers too, man. We've got to control the turnover differential. It's going to be huge. Control the turnover differential. That's the reason they beat Houston last week. It really is. And not just they beat them, but they boat raced them. They won, or the middle eight was tied. However, Emilio, Minnesota did score with 10:22 left in the third quarter. So that was just a little more than 30 seconds away from being middle eight. So you're still grabbing that momentum in that regard. And then the turnover differential, they won that 2-0. They protected the football, and they were able to, like I said, capitalize on C.J. Stroud and that offense making a couple of mistakes. Now, keep in mind, too, that was in Minnesota. That's one of the loudest stadiums in the country, right? Well, you're going to be in Green Bay. You're going to be in Lambeau this week. So I'm excited to see if we can kind of do the same thing to Minnesota that they did to Houston there in the dome up there in that loud environment. We got to get loud. Got to get loud.
Mm-hmm. Have to get loud. What we have 80,000 up there, got to be screaming. And I think that we really need to force Sam. I think we need to force him to throw it over 30 times. I think that if we can get him into a passing game, I think we take that battle. Force their O-line to pass block a lot more, going back pedal, because they've been really comfortable running the ball forward. And we have to keep Aaron Jones. I mean, probably 150 total with receiving and stuff. But if we can keep him under 100 running, I think we're in good shape. But they got to back up. It's not like we just shut one down. We got to play complementary football.
Yeah, definitely. Dennis Shook says Clayton Darnold feasted on Dre Campbell in coverage. Well, you love to see it, don't you? My man was talking about how happy he is in San Francisco and how horrible it was being in Green Bay, and got out there and got his ass kicked. So you love to see it, man, for sure. I seen a lot of tweets coming out on that, like, oh yeah, Dre Campbell ain't that good in coverage. Who would have knew, right? Greg Rice, doesn't Minnesota run a lot of 2 tight ends? So again, they run 12 personnel, which is 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 20.4% of the time. That's 16th most in the league. I wouldn't say they run a lot of it. It's kind of middle of the pack, but it is 20% of their offense so far this season. So that's how those numbers shake out there.
When they're in 12, it's 2 backs, right? It's like a fullback, or is it 2 running backs? Did we know that?
12 personnel is 1 running back, 2 tight ends.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. 21.
Yeah. 21 personnel, they run 15% of the time. That's 2 running backs, 1 tight end.
Do we know if it's 2 halfbacks, or do they run like an I formation kind of stuff?
I'm sure they run with a fullback.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of how I could get that information.
Me too. That's why I was trying to dig it up while I was asking. But
yeah, it's only showing 12. The fact that they got 2, you're right though, man. They may go with their own pony package. I didn't even think about that. That might be the case. Because again, we put up what was it, week 2, Tyson Chandler? Right. Pretty good game, right? 10 carries, 82 yards. So that would kind of suggest that for sure.
And we're wondering, what's our matchup going to be? If Aaron Jones goes out, is it going to be Quay? If they bring out another running back, is it going to be Bullard coming up? Is it going to be Cooper walking out? Is it going to be Wilson in coverage, McDuffie? Those are the things he's got to kind of, Hafley's got to kind of decide now. Ideally, we want to be in X, Y, and Z matchups, going into this versus this personnel.
Yeah. We could comb through NFL Pro. We can't do it live, obviously, but we could probably find out because they do a great job on PC showing exactly who's on the field, Yeah. So I could get that answer for you. I just didn't prep for that question. I think we prepped for everything else.
Yep. See, there we go again. Asking questions we don't know the answer to.
It's all right, man. Hey, it's a good question. We need to get the answer to it for sure. All right, let's dive into the PFF preview here real quick. When it comes to our defense against their offense, we hit the other earlier today, and let's see if we can get this to where we can all see it fairly decent here. Let me widen this out, man. The NASA computer acted strange tonight, Emilio.
I'm telling you, the storm's rolling in.
Yeah, it might be, man. It might be. It's just I'm still trying to figure out how everything works. So you got a redneck over here like a mad scientist trying to figure everything out. Here we go. Look at this. Look at that right there. All right, so when it comes to our defense matching up against their offense, let's start with base again. Actually, let's start with 11. That's what they're going to be in the most, right? So let's go with our nickel against their 11 personnel. They don't have their 21. That's why I couldn't answer that question for you. They've just got their 12. So when you look at these matchups right off the bat, the big thing that sticks out to me, look at their offensive line, man. They're stout. There's no doubt about it. Christian Darrisaw, left tackle, 82.8. That's the 8th highest graded tackle in the game. Left guard, Brandel, 75.8. He's the 11th highest graded guard in the NFL. Bradbury at center is the 16th highest graded center at 64.8. Ingram seems to be the weak link there at right guard at a 56.3. He's the 53rd highest graded guard in the game. And then right tackle, you got O'Neal at 75.2. I want to take a quick glance here because we're going to have Rashan Gary lined up over him. Pass blocking is his weakness, 68.7. Not horrible, but unless they're going to chip, Gary might be able to eat again this week, man. If they go to chipping, then you see what happened in Tennessee. It freed up a lot of other pass rushers. So,
and looking at the rest of their run blocking stats there, it looks like the entire line is over a 75 for run blocking. So, that's big. It does look like I did see they have CJ Ham, their fullback, number 30. It does look like he has 21 run plays, 21 of them block, and he's a 67.9. So that's
probably that 21 personnel, then.
Yeah, it does look like he is getting some of those reps.
It might be a mix too. Might be that fullback and they're running a little pony too.
Right? Yep, definitely.
That make a lot of sense. So, all right, good stuff. Thank you for pulling that up, man. As far as our defensive line matching up, Preston Smith on Darrisaw, 69.9. Preston Smith is now the 30th highest graded edge defender out of 114 that are on this list. Milio, that's a borderline starter, bro.
Yep.
Right? I mean starting number 1. So when you're in the top 32, that really says a lot. Now, Gary's grade is in the tank at 55.2. Of course, we've showed you the chip rate. One of the reasons why is he's getting eat up with double teams. Now, you can filter out that information and find the true pass set. I don't have time to look at that. That would kind of talk about Gary's ability and success in one-on-one situations. We ain't got time to really look it up. But he's over O'Neal. I kind of like that matchup a lot there. And I like Preston Smith and what he may or may not do against Darrisaw there, man. That's going to be a hell of a matchup there. Devontae White, who's become kind of our true 3-tech, 65.5. That's the 37th highest graded defensive lineman in the game. Brandel, he's going to be matched up with Brandel and Bradbury probably quite a bit. More Brandel than Bradbury because he's going to be playing more of a 3-tech on that side of the field in between the guard and the tackle, I would imagine. Now, Kenny Clark has been the big – Milio, this is bad, bro. This is really bad. Kenny Clark, 37.9 according to PFF. I mean, Ryan did an extensive job on his podcast the other day removing some of the noise of the true pass sets. It's not good enough, man. There's no two ways about it. And when you look at what he's done, let's just start in 2020. Let's start in 2019. 79.5, 76.1, 75.4, 66.4, and then he rebounded to a 70.4 last year. Again, PFF isn't everything, but anyone who watches the tape, and if you watch the tape last year, everyone's excuse was, well, he's getting double teamed. Well, they're asking him to play nose. They're asking him to do this. They're doing that. He's going to, Milio, everyone talked about how he is going to eat in this 4-3 defense, right? And my argument was, guys, we're still going to be a nickel. That's one gap. That's not two gap. So we're playing one gap a large majority of the time. There's some situations where they would play two gap out of the nickel, but the large majority of the time was one gap. And he didn't play all that well last year, 70.4. Now he had his highest sack total, so everybody loses their mind. You guys heard me talking about the broken tackle, missed tackle percentage, which is through the roof. This is not good, man. 37.9. It's tough, dude. Run defense grade got even lower this year at a 40. His pass rush grade is now dropped to a 59.7. So I don't know, man. How do you feel about it? Am I being too hard on Kenny here, man?
No, I mean I think it's fair, right? I don't think Kenny wants to be playing the way he is right now. I mean I'm not mad because he's also been on the field he was on the field for those 3 turnovers we had. It's not like he's it's not like he's not doing anything. Obviously, his grades aren't perfect, right? And they're not high right now. So he's not happy about it. All the fans aren't happy about it. I'm sure the coaches want him to be better. But it also seems like his overall numbers are kind of going down throughout the years. But it seems like this one's kind of just like such an outlier that I almost don't want to believe it. I kind of want to shut my eyes for a couple more weeks and see how it goes. We knew that we were going to micromanage someone or something about the team. We just didn't we just were hoping probably it wasn't going to be Kenny right off the bat. And I think that, maybe let's give him until about week 8. And I think that number is going to be back in the 60s, ideally pushing 70s, 80s, just climbing back up just because, he is a key component to this team. I think he's got a lot of smarts down there. He knows some of the ins and outs, the tricks of the trade. He's been here for a long time. So I just, I hope the best for him, obviously.
Yeah. J. Cole says Kenny hasn't looked good at all, and I think we will be drafting a defensive lineman in the first round next draft. What's crazy is, like, I was talking about drafting a defensive tackle in last year's draft, right? Byron Murphy was one that I was like, boy, if we can get our hands on him somehow, trading up because he did fall a little bit. You guys remember how long it was before a defensive player was taken in that draft? Mm-hmm. And here we still took an offensive tackle who has been converted to guard and is missing significant time, obviously, with Jordan Morgan. Still like the pick. He was right there in that range on my board. It's like, okay, that's a solid pick. But I thought going into this past offseason, you try to draft Kenny's replacement, you let him test the market, and that's how you make a true evaluation of, is it worth it to re-sign him? They did totally the opposite. They didn't draft a defensive lineman, and then they turned around and extended him. I was like, what the hell do I know, right? And then lo and behold, unfortunately, so far I've been proven right, and it sucks because we need Kenny to perform big time, man, big time. So it's just tough. It's a tough adjustment here for sure. AFAM points out might be a bit of an adjustment because he was playing nose, ? AFAM. What's crazy is if you turn on the tape last year, and there's been, listen, this isn't a dig at you. Everybody was saying he was playing nose. He's playing nose. Turn on the tape from last year. He wasn't playing nose. There was many times he was in 3-tech. I would feel comfortable saying at least 50% of his snaps last year he was in 3-tech. So, again, with the 34 jam, when you played your base defense, TJ Slayton was the nose. You remember, Emilio? It was always TJ Slayton in there playing the nose in the 34 jam.
Yep.
And then when you would go nickel, I was surprised to see Devontae Wyatt, TJ Slayton getting more snaps than I thought he was going to get because Wyatt got a few less or, whatever. Wyatt still got the bulk of the snaps, but TJ Slayton got a lot of them. They were still playing him at the nose, and Kenny was playing the 3-tech. This year, you've got Kenny playing more of that 1 to 2-tech, and Devontae Wyatt kind of playing more 3-tech, at least without diving too far into the numbers. Watching the tape, it does feel like that's what's been going on. So
yeah, looking up just really quickly off PFF, their detailed position stats from him last year. It looks like nose tackle specifically throughout the year, it looked like 14 snaps at specific, head up nose right tag, nose right would be 3, and nose left would be 32. So, I mean, under 50 snaps from last season at the nose. And looking at it this year, we had him real quick. Looks like he hasn't been head up yet. Nose left, nose right combined for 6 total. Yeah. So it looks like he's down left, down right a lot, where 47, 53 snaps, left end a little bit and right end a little bit. I think I kind of like that too. Let's give him an opportunity if we want him to be a pass rusher, maybe put him outside on that overload, maybe short side of the field, overload it, and really put him in an advantageous situation, because it's not like everybody else. We've seen Carl Brooks come in and crash 3 dudes. He's not afraid to stick his notice in there just so that one of his teammates can get their numbers.
Yeah, no doubt, man. All right, so moving along here, we're getting up against the clock here real quick. We talked about the offensive line against the defensive line. Let's move on to running back and tight end versus linebackers. Don't like our matchup here. Aaron Jones, 81.4, the 4th highest graded running back. Munt, not a good tight end at a 45.1. If we go 12, let's see if there's a better tight end than Munt. Oliver is actually grading out significantly higher at a 56.6. PFF seems to think he's lower than him on the depth chart. I don't want to take the time to see if he actually is, to be honest with you.
Right.
So at linebacker, so again, Aaron Jones, one of the best running backs in the league right now. Linebacker Quay Walker, 75th out of 77 backers at a 40.7. Again, coverage grade, which was his strength, is now 37.2. His pass rush grade is the only thing keeping him at a 40.7 overall defensive grade. Run defense grade is 53.9 currently. Now, he has played 156 as stack backer in the box. He's actually played out a little bit wide, what would be considered slot corner, 25 snaps, and he's been mugging on the defensive line 5 times. I almost feel like in a game like this where you've really got to control the running game with Aaron Jones, go to a 4-3 under or over, put Quay on the line of scrimmage, let Edgerrin Cooper kind of play behind him. That's how I'm feeling, but I don't know if Hafley will approach it that way.
Yeah, because if he's our best cover linebacker, are we gonna who would you rather have on Aaron Jones? I guess would be my next question.
Well, I don't think we're going to be playing a whole lot of man coverage. If you remember the chart, if we continue with this, so far the Packers have played the majority of their snaps. They played cover 3 zone or cover 3 match. Okay. And then 19% of the time was cover 1. So we're playing cover 3 32% of the time, cover 1 19% of the time, cover 6 17% of the time, and then cover 4 12% of the time, along with cover 2 man. So essentially, we have played man coverage 32% of the time, 32% of the snaps, and zone everything else. So I mean, yeah, that is a significant amount of man coverage. You're right. Who would we want on Aaron Jones in man coverage? The answer is nobody.
Right.
I don't like that matchup for any of our linebackers, right? And that could be a problem because Isaiah McDuffie, 49.0. Can we just put Edgerrin Cooper out there already? You know what I'm saying?
Ready?
Like,
Are you
if
ready?
we go to the base, Eric Wilson's still the other one that they're going, hey, scream, put him in. He only got 8 snaps last game, but his grade's still at 92.1. So.
Right. That's tough, man, because we saw how explosive he is, but I also saw him kind of get out of position on a couple, which I'm not mad at because I'd rather, like Hafley say, make a mistake 100 miles an hour. Let's go back and correct it later because, 1, I don't want you hurt. 2, I want you to make the play. So you got to be going full speed. And I still want Quay out there. I mean, obviously he's not been performing, but I feel comfortable with him out there. He had that 3rd down stop. He broke on Will. He was out there he played every snap. Him and X were on there for every snap of the defense. That means something. There's something more there that he brings than just the 49 grade or whatever it is, right? He brings a lot to that defense that probably isn't on the stat sheet, but he is also there for all these turnovers. So I'm not mad at that. If that's how our defense is going to be, let it be that. But yeah, we need him to step up, and obviously him and Kenny want to play better.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's look at wide receiver versus our DBs here. So obviously Justin Jefferson, the 8th highest graded receiver in the league right now, 81.1. Their 2nd highest graded receiver is Jordan Addison at a 68.5, and then their slot receiver Powell, 64.3. Not bad. 56 highest graded receiver out of 116. Pretty solid there from this receiving core. As far as corners and how they match up, let's say that Ja does follow, and I'm not saying he will, okay? But Jair Alexander on Justin Jefferson 81.1, Jair Alexander 74.8. Don't look now, Emilio. Jair Alexander is now the 12th highest graded corner in the league according to PFF. That's exciting, dude. He's starting to climb back up those ranks. That's great to see. You've got Stokes on Jordan Addison. Stokes, 68.3, 31st highest graded corner in the game right now. That's a borderline number 1 corner rating across the board according to PFF. Jordan Addison's a 68.5. He's been banged up, minimal snaps, so we'll see if he's 100% healthy. And then Powell against Nixon, almost a push there, 64.3 against Nixon, 60.4 is how that shakes out. So I feel pretty good about our corners matchups here. It's going to be more about scheme than anything. Me personally, that's kind of how I see that. Now, at the safety position, Xavier McKinney is the 11th highest graded safety at 77.4. Javon Bullard is the 55th highest graded safety at 56.4. Obviously, just a solid number 2. You want to get that number in the 60s, don't get me wrong. That's kind of the measuring stick. Above 60 for a rookie is a solid performance. But anytime you're grading out inside of the top 60 as a starting safety, you're kind of, all right, more than less than your average, right, across the league. So
yeah, and I mean, he had a quiet game last week. He was in on a lot, but it wasn't anything crazy. He was there, at the end of tackles kind of thing. I was looking at their receivers. Justin Jefferson, his average depth of target, 13.7. Jalen Naylor, 14.3. And Jordan Addison, 11.5. with Trent Sherfield at 9 yards. I mean, they are pushing the ball down the field. It looks like, you know what I mean. It's not just short dink and dunks. 10-yard passes for each of their average targets is a deep passing game. So I think that we really need to force him to try to get the ball out quick, or force him to hold it, try to get those long routes, and have our D-line get there.
Yeah. And again, when you look at the passing chart, you kind of see it there in that 10 to 20 range, right? 10 to 20, and then, of course, 10 to 20. There you go.
Yeah, and you want to force it to. And that's – I mean, that's their offense right there. Let's get a couple deep balls and then just run. Get a couple deep balls, run it, and everybody's open. It's a match made in heaven when the offense can work like that.
Yeah, and here's the Kevin O'Connell effect, the KOC effect on Sam Darnold. Look at his career grades: 64.7, 63.6, 58.4, 54.7, 63, 66, and with Kevin O'Connell through 3 games, 82.3. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. My man is lighting it up right now.
Right.
Obviously, he's still fairly young too. He's 27 years old. That's a pup in quarterback years. So definitely maximizing his opportunity. Let's hope that we shut them down this weekend. That would be awesome to just have them hit that Jeff Hafley wall come Sunday.
Yep.
So, all right, there's your PFF preview. We covered offense earlier today. We covered defense just now. We're going to continue to take notes as we break this stuff down and kind of give you guys a full game plan on how we think they should approach trying to defeat the Minnesota Vikings here come Sunday at Lambeau Field. The big thing that I've come up with so far, Emilio, and we'll wrap this thing up. So when it comes to offense, you really want to lean into 12 balanced. So 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 2x2 set. That's a balanced look. So what you want to do is probably start with a tray right or a tray left, and then pre-snap motion to gather a little information and settle into the 2x2 out of the 12 personnel. Okay, that's what they struggle with the most. If I remember correctly, in 2x2 sets, their EPA allowed was 0.02. That was 16th in the league. So that's kind of a weak spot there. The other thing is 1x3 sets. So we're going trips and tray right for the Packers. The Vikings were 14th in EPA allowed in 1x3 sets at -0.11. So you want to attack in that regard. The big matchup for me, Jaden Reed versus Murphy Jr. in the slot could be huge. Could be absolutely huge. I'm hearing more and more people talk about that in the fantasy realm too. Like, hey, this might be a big game for Jaden Reed. So look out for that. So Reed versus Murphy in the slot, use 12 balance, use trips and tray right. Okay, that's what they're weak at. As far as stopping them, lean towards run left. They're having a lot of success running left, and Sam Darnold loves to use the right side of the field throwing the football. Yep. Not a huge threat to scramble, so you should be able to pin your ears back. This is the first game this year we can pin our ears back and actually go without worrying about a contain. You've seen it in the second half against the Titans because you jumped up to a big lead, and now let's let the dogs loose, right?
That's a great point. I think that gets me excited because maybe Hafley has something like that teed up. We just haven't been able to see it because of the mobility of the quarterbacks we've played against. Sam Darnold being not a stick in the mud back there, but someone that's going to be standing back there most of the time trying to spin it around is going to be fun for the D-line to go after. Maybe we don't get there. Let's get our hands up, punch and jump, and just make it difficult for them. But I think we have to force them into passing situations as much as we can and try to get them out of running the ball with that O-line that they have. Yeah.
As far as Tuesday players on their defensive side of the ball, so when we're on offense, their Tuesday players are Harrison Smith. Obviously, let me pull it back up here. I won't put it on the screen, but I'll just kind of let you guys know here. Harrison Smith, the 6th highest graded safety in the league, 83.9. He does everything. There's no one in the league right now that does this better, mugging the line of scrimmage and then getting deep back into a deep zone. He is the poster child for it right now. Yep. Extremely high FBI. Another one is their edge defender, Van Ginkel, really getting after the quarterback. Van Ginkel, 77.1. He's the 19th highest graded edge defender right now. And then linebacker Blake Cashman, really good in coverage, 6th highest graded linebacker at stack backer position, coverage grade of 80.7. Those are your Tuesday players for the Vikings defense. Now, when we switch to their offense, Tuesday players, obviously, it goes without saying, Justin Jefferson, an absolute dog, 81.1, 8th highest graded receiver. You got Aaron Jones, 81.4, the fourth highest graded running back. And then Sam Darnold, got to get pressure in his face. You can't let him sit back there and pick you apart. He's sitting in there at 82.3, the seventh highest graded quarterback in the league. So those are your Tuesday players that you're game planning against in Sunday's game. Anything else, Emilio, you got, man?
No, I think that's it. Van Ginkel, he's not the biggest edge rusher, but he 6'4", 240. So maybe we try to run it at him, sort of thing. Maybe we try to get him off his speed game. They got Blake Cashman back there as a backer. We just got to keep an eye on him. Jordan Love's played against them before, so I like that. I like the odds there. If Malik's out there, I think that we got to keep leaning on that QB run just because it gives us that third dimension. But Matt will definitely scheme something up. I think he's got a couple tricks up his sleeve. He hasn't showed us his whole playbook, obviously, and it definitely needs to be a team win, and we have to come out positive in the turnover differential. And we talk about the offense defense matchups, this and that. It's going to come down to score and time of the score and the time that's left. That's what football comes down to. That red zone is going to be key for that scoring part. We need to convert. We have to be plus 50, 75%. I'd like it to be 100% conversion rate, but it's going to be a good game.
Definitely. We got Skull for Life in here. Barber 1975 said it's going to be a game. It's going to, man. This is what many people are dubbing. This is the game of the year so far, right? This is possibly the two best teams in the NFC. I think the Vikings have earned that a little more than the Packers so far with their strength of schedule as opposed to the Packers. But going to be a lot of fun to see this one unfold at Lambeau for sure, man. I can't wait. So appreciate you swinging through, Skull. That's awesome that you dropped in, man. All right, so with that being said, let's get out of here, man. We will be back tomorrow. Here's the deal. A lot of storms still rolling through. I'm either going to go live tomorrow morning or I'm going to go live tomorrow evening. Probably won't be two shows, so I'll try to unfold all that as quickly as I can, unless Emilio and the guys want to do an evening show, even though I do a morning show. There's a good chance I'll be out of the loop tomorrow night because we're going to be working way late tomorrow night. So with that being said, we'll definitely do a show tomorrow. I had some Patreon questions from our Patreon group, so guys and gals, I'm going to get those in tomorrow. I had them pulled up, but we just ran out of time. So we'll hit those first things first tomorrow. I'll make a note so I don't forget. And, yeah, we'll plan on seeing y'all tomorrow. Emilio, I appreciate your time, buddy. This was fun.
Definitely. Everybody stay safe out there. Anyone in the past, stay safe. And we've got a little football on tonight. Enjoy it. But Packers coming up this weekend, man. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, Dallas just scored, so it's now going to be 7-3. Dallas, we got a flag on the play. Hold the phones.
Looks like our offense out there.
This is what you tuned in.
Can we clean those up too, real quick? Can we just clean up the penalties this week?
Just a couple.
If we could keep it to less than 5, I'd be happy.
That was the other thing too, man. I already deleted the graphic here, but that was the other thing that really played a role in that win over Houston for Minnesota. They had 38 yards of penalty yards to their advantage. They won a turnover differential. They essentially won the middle 8 by 30 seconds.
Yep.
And they had the penalty yards. Going to be a little bit different at Lambeau. I believe that. Packers have been heavily penalized. I'm telling you, man.
Matt's going to clean it up.
He's going to clean it up. And he's also sending tape in showing the officials, hey, you missed this, you missed this. It's going to swing back sooner or later. So
yeah, I thought he was going to be mad the first game. He's got to be mad by the fourth game. Yes, exactly. Do we know who the crew is? I'm sure Tim's doing a little research.
He already talked about it. I've already forgotten his name, but Tim didn't think highly of him either, which I haven't heard Tim brag on any officials, so, to be honest with you. I know this, though. If the flags get out of control, we're calling this guy. I promise.
Oh, definitely.
So I'm going to be staring at the screen like this. The Packers have 10 penalties for 90 yards. I'm going to be like this the whole time. What the hell is going on? So, all right.
We're running sprints on Monday.
Yeah, shout out to our boy. What was it? Mark Bavaro? Is that his name?
Mark Bavaro. Tucker Craft reincarnated here.
I guarantee you there was no performance enhancers there on those biceps in the 80s. They didn't have that stuff back then. But, all right, we're out of here. Appreciate everybody hanging out. We will see you tomorrow. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.